Studies, IIT Roorkee. He is actively involved in teaching and research for more than a decade. His last academic assignment was with Ford School of Management, New Delhi. He has also taught at Executive PGPX program 2020 batch at IIM Rohtak. He has published his work in various reputed journals like Telemetrics, Informatics, International Journal of Nonprofit and Voluntary Sector Marketing, Benchmarking, and so many other journals. His research interests includes the social media marketing, e-commerce, consumer behavior, relationship marketing. He has conducted various training program for Agra Police, India Post, and UPSRTC. So in today's session, we will be providing you a marketing insights from the sustainable development perspective. So I welcome our speaker, Professor Mayank Yadav. Please, the floor is open for you. Please share with your thought with the participants. Sir.
Thank you, Professor Singh. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes.
Okay. So thank you, Professor Singh, for providing me this opportunity to share my thoughts and my limited knowledge with sustainability, though I am a hardcore digital marketing and social media marketing personnel. But yes, I'll try my level best that with my knowledge and the experiences and the examples which I share through this presentation will be a value addition. And yes, of course, since all faculties are there in this, we'll try to make this lecture more interactive, less of concept, but yes, concepts, I'll give some concepts, but I'll be focusing more on examples, videos, the current practices of the companies in the sustainability. That is what I will be focusing. So I'll just share my screen with all of you. So is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, it is visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so thank you very much for confirming. So the topic of today's discussion is sustainability marketing. And the moment this work come in conjunction with marketing, this sustainability word, many of us have this perception, or even how marketing can go head along with sustainability, because marketing calls for more of consumption, right? We focus on consumer behavior, and so we focus how the consumer will buy more, how the consumer will consume more. So can marketing can go with sustainability, though there is a pressure from the government, from the consumers, that is nowadays the so-called green consumer. I would just like to connect my thoughts with this, that how marketing can go with sustainability, with one ad of our Indian motorcycle. I'll show, and please just watch this ad and then I'll show.
बैंक अकाउंट ओपन करवाने जाने वाले थे ना?
आपके प्लान्स के बीच में बैंक जाना ना आए, इसीलिए बस अपने डिटेल्स डालो.
Are you able to hear the sound and the video both?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just watch this video of Royal Enfield.
जब बुलेट चले दुनिया रास्ता दे.
Right. So why I showed you this ad, just to give you a brief idea that marketing, when we market our products in India, especially if you see Royal Enfield Bullet, which starts from 350cc, and consume a non-renewable source of energy, that is petrol. So which is one of the most unsustainable bike. that consumes a lot of petrol, and we as a marketer promote it like that, jab bullet chale to duniya rasta de, everyone gives way to the bullet, right? So such how is basically the promotional campaigns in India. So why I opened my lecture with this ad, because there is a huge debate and discourse in the marketing literature that how marketing and sustainability can go hand in hand, right? So whereby the main the objective of marketing is to consume more and more. So I'll take you with a brief definition of sustainability marketing, and then slowly we will discuss the various concepts and the types of sustainability marketing. In this lecture we will study, and then the various initiatives of the company we will study. So sustainability marketing, if you see, it calls for socially, economically, environmentally responsible actions that meet the present needs of consumers and business, while also preserving and enhancing the ability of future generation to meet their needs, right? So we are not only looking at the present, but we are also looking at the future. So we have to not only meet the marketing needs socially, economically, but environmentally also. We have to show it more responsible modes of marketing. Then if we define sustainability, so originally sustainability defined as sustainable development by Brundtland Commission Report 1987 as meets the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs, right? Hope this is all definition part. Many of you might have been in, but I included just to give you a brief overview, although it has been covered in many lectures also. So now I made this triangle, sustainability marketing triangle. Now, why should we study sustainability marketing, or why should we discuss this particular topic, sustainability marketing, in this particular FDP? So if you see this triangle or pyramid, whatever you want to call it, right? So it has three dimensions. One is culture and the society, then theory and market. Remember, I'm not talking as of now about the triple bottom line, that is people, planet, and profit. I'm just talking about why studying this particular topic or discussing this particular topic in this FDP is important. So it's my choice. Whenever I take any subject or any topic, I always use this triangle, because whenever we study something, we should always question us that why we are studying this. So what is the relationship of this particular concept with the society? What is the relationship of this concept with the theory? And what is the relationship of this concept with the market? So we'll cover it one by one. Now, if you see from the theoretical perspective and the evolution of marketing, so we all are very well aware with that how marketing evolved. So marketing evolved from trade era. Trade era, if you remember, during our olden times, specifically I remember in my village, specifically when the ice cream vendor used to come, we never used to give him money. We used to give him wheat or rice in exchange. So that was called barter system. So that barter system came. Then from barter system to the production era came. That is whereby people thought that just of exchanging the things will not actually serve the needs of the the people. But the main thing is that we should produce enough so that the things are available to us. So then there came the production era. Then a lot of things, people have started producing a lot of things. Then also it doesn't work. Then people say that how people will consume more, because marketing was previously and now also major focus is that consumer should consume more. Consumer was still not consuming more. Then came the quality focus in the production, and from production era it moved to product era, right? Whereby people started, or the marketers started focusing on the quality of the product. They said that customer will buy more if they get more of quality products, right? So from there, from production era to product era came. Again, the sales and all those started getting stagnant. Then the marketers are worried, what should we do? Then they said that although you provide a quality product, it is not necessary the consumer will buy that product. You have to have persuasive skills. You should have a selling orientation, maybe with the help of promotions, maybe with the help of persuasive skills, or maybe any other thing. So from that product era, the selling era came. And then sales again got stagnant. Then marketers again what were it? Then they said that now, not just focusing on production, quality, and selling. Now we should develop basically a more wider perspective of selling the things. Then actually marketing came into existence, that is known as marketing era, whereby you all came to know about the 4 P's of the marketing: product, price, place, promotion, given by McCarthy. After that also they started again saying that yes, the sales is not increasing, and then why it's basically happening. So then they said no, it's not just enough to focus on product, price, place, and promotion, but one essential element is missing, that is relationships with our customers. And from there on, my dear friends, my dear faculty members, the relationship marketing era came. And then from relationship marketing era, now it is currently the digital era. Now, why sustainability is important? Because you see, this is currently the digital and relationship marketing era. And you see, sustainability marketing focuses on circular economy. So you need to have a strong relationship with the customer, but also you have to focus on sustainable means. Now, since it's a digital era, various social media platforms like it is Twitter, Facebook, Instagram are there to promote our products, right? So it's a more sustainable means of promoting a product rather than producing through newspaper, whereby again paper gets wasted and all those. I know digital marketing platforms also consume electricity, and again electricity, and because 60 to 70% production of electricity in India is via coal, it produces. But yes, at least we are able to curb some amount of the pollution or the paper cutting which happens. We cut the forest for papers. So that is why from theory point of view also, studying sustainability marketing is important. Second is culture and the society. If you see, the base of sustainability is the interconnectedness of relationship of people, planet, and profit, the triple bottom line of sustainability. So these all 3 P's are interconnected to each other: people, planet, and profit. I will talk specifically in terms of the Indian context. I have taken this from Maha-Upanishad chapter 4 verse 71, which says that Ayam nijaha paruveti gadana lagu chetsam udar charitanam tu vasudev kutumbakam. So how the essence of sustainability was since long time in our scriptures, and that has been very well proved with this scripture, Maha-Upanishad chapter 4 verse 71. Why unsustainable behavior happens? Why unnecessary consumption happens? It's because of Laghu Chetsam, the people, those who are not very generous in thinking. What they think? I am consuming. If till then I am happy, someone is unhappy, I don't care. Right? So what happens? That is why the unsustainable consumption happens. So sustainability is imbibed in our Indian culture from the very beginning. Right? So all those people with generosity, our Indian culture is very generous. Right. So sustainability, studying sustainability from the perspective of the Indian culture is also very important, because if you want to really imbibe sustainability, then this particular verse, we have to think entire universe as a family. Vasudev Kutumbakam. Entire earth should be treated as a family. And when this feeling will come, only then we will become truly sustainable. And that's how I wanted to relate that how this particular topic is actually relevant to the Indian context, because we were very sustainable from the very beginning. I don't want to go in huge detail of that, because in his last lecture, Professor Singh has discussed much about the Indian culture, that what was there in our Indian culture, why we were sustainable from the very beginning. So from culture and society point of view also, this sustainability topic is quite relevant. Now let's market, why this topics and this. So I have talked about 2 concepts over here, greenwashing, and I have taken an example of Fiji water also. But before this, why sustainability is important, it's because from market point of view, not only the pressure is coming from the green consumers, right? The green consumer which are constantly pressurizing the company about giving or delivering more greener products. So market is creating the one pressure is coming from consumer side. So that is why this topic is from marketing point of view, this topic is very important to be studied. Also from the government side and various social organizations and NGOs, right? They are actually working upon to make this planet a better place to live. So from that point of view also, this topic is important. Now, what is there for us as consumers, right? Why should we study sustainability as a consumer? Is that we know all the concepts. A lot of discussion has happened that we should adopt green product, we should adopt organic products, and that is more sustainable and 360-degree circular economy. But all these claims what these companies are making, are they actually the right claims? What is the real story behind it? So from market point of view, as intelligent consumers, we should study this topic and understand what basically is greenwashing, right? Can someone share their thoughts what is greenwashing is? Can anyone want to share what is greenwashing? Yes, please. Someone want to share what is
Yes,
greenwashing?
when companies indulge in activities which are harmful to the environment, and in order to counter that, they engage in activities which project a good image in the public.
Absolutely correct. So company portrays that they are actually green, they are actually sustainable, but by their acts, they do something unsustainable. Actually, if you remember, there is one bottle coming of Himalayan water, that Himalayan mineral water. Have you all heard about it, Himalayan mineral water? Right. So in that Himalayan mineral water, they claim that this is the purest form of naturally occurring water. It contains all the kind of minerals, but they actually don't care about the people, those who live there on the mountains. Actually, do they get actually good water and clean water to drink? And also the bottle which they use, the plastic bottles, whether they are totally 100% recycling or not. I mean to say is that various brands portrays themselves as eco-friendly, paraffins free, silicon free, but we also have to check whether they are actually got true certification in the sense, or they are just making a false claims. So these are all malpractices, these are all false practices by the company, come under the category of greenwashing. I'll share one article with you, and in that you'll be able to see that how this Fiji water and other there is one case whereby this is a very interesting article. Is it visible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is I came across this article when I was preparing my lecture, and I got this article because most of the people talk about what? Most of the people talk about we are sustainable, we are doing this, we are doing that. Just give me a second. Sorry for the interruption. Some official work keep on coming in between. Yeah. So we as consumer, many of us don't know. We just read what is green, and we are not able to actually find out that claims which these companies are making is whether it's a reality or it's a myth. So this article, that is how to spot greenwashing. Basically this talks about the malpractices of the company. So it is one of the latest article that is published on 15 May 2020. So if you see, they are saying that everyday consumers get bombarded with new information regarding corporate sustainability initiatives. So McDonald's banning plastic straws. Now you see, when you go to McDonald's and you order a soft drink with a meal, so they don't give you straw. They now start to give some gives the paper straws. They have stopped those plastic straw. Coca-Cola is claiming that they are using 50% recycled materials in their package and so on. So they are telling about, this article is actually telling about that. However, these companies are honestly addressing these issues. Are they actually doing it? Are they, walk the talk, or they are just talking? So it's more important as a consumer to be a responsible consumer and to recheck all this. Although there are a lot of certification coming for these organic product, USDA certification and other, but yes, there is growing demand. This article is talking about that whether this is particularly a dream or a reality. So greenwashing definition I'm not going to go about. I'm just going to talk about, there's one example they have given. So they are talked about GE Westernwell merged talking about some examples. You see can you see these towels, right? These towels is taken from an example of a hotel, whereby hotel promoted to their guests that they should use less towels and which will I mean stop the use of the chemicals, detergents, more of water, but actually they was actually saving their costs, right? So the claims which are given by the companies are actually sustainable claims or not. That is basically a real, a dream. So they have also talked about 7 sins of greenwashing. There is a hidden trade-off. Sins of vagueness. This is one sin that these companies do. That means they use certain fluffy language like all natural, eco-friendly. They are all vague terms. How will you cross-check that they are all natural? How will you cross-check that is they are eco-friendly? But just by saying that, they just claim that just because I am saying my brand is eco-friendly, does it become eco-friendly? So these kind of greenwashing practices, we as responsible consumers have to check. I will quickly share one case of Fiji, one video of Fiji. You just see to it.
Carbon emissions and deforestation.
Is it visible and audible to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Walk into any grocery store and you're bound to see it. Green marketing. It seems to be almost everywhere these days. Our eggs are all natural and our shampoos are encased in green labels adorned with leaves and generic trees. In many respects, this push towards an eco-friendlier consumerism is a positive change. Organic produce and sustainably made clothing are needed if we are to reduce industrial and personal footprints. But unfortunately, hidden among these ethically and environmentally driven products lies an insidious form of advertising: greenwashing. From bath products to meat packaging, greenwashing occurs in almost every sector of the consumer market. But today, let's take a close look at how Fiji Water uses ad campaigns to construct a green image around its otherwise environmentally detrimental company. But first, why exactly is greenwashing bad? Quite simply, it plays into a consumer's desire to live a green life without necessarily creating a sustainable product. And on a deeper level, one of the greenest things to do is to buy fewer things. So no matter how great the product is, it's probably still kind of deceptive to market it as green. So greenwashing means using titles like all natural or eco-friendly, or simply using a green background in order to entice a customer into buying a product that is by no means environmentally friendly. In some cases, bigger companies that falsely label their products as eco-friendly, like eggs labeled farm fresh or all natural, can often outcompete smaller companies who are more environmentally grounded and actually employ ethical practices while creating their product. Fiji Water's recent marketing campaign encapsulates the essence of this greenwashing.
Fiji Water is a gift from nature to us, to repay our gift of leaving it completely alone. Bottled at the source, untouched by man. It's Earth's finest water.
While aesthetically pleasing and pleasant to watch, there are a number of aspects that are print in a cloud of green. For one, the bright double exposures of nature flickering within the edges of the bottle immediately cue us to Fiji Water's connection to nature. Especially when contrasted with the dark cityscape background, the water bottle appears to be a perfect image of a world quote-unquote untouched by man. The visuals are then compounded with the narration of a young girl who anchors the ad with this proclamation.
Bottled at the source, untouched by man.
Clearly, this ad works hard to paint Fiji water as a part of nature, rather than what it really is. Water bottled in plastics that take many years to degrade, shipped via intensive transportation from Fiji to destinations around the world. Both these practices wreak havoc on the environment, polluting the air and the water. And to bring Fiji's negative impact into sharp relief, 47% of people who live in Fiji don't have access to clean, safe drinking water, according to the World Health Organization. This commercial is just a small part of Fiji's larger campaign that attempts to reimagine the bottled water company as the essence of nature. Spreads like this reveal the larger work at play in Fiji's greenwashed marketing tactics. They are pursuing environmentally minded customers by framing their water bottles as a completely green product. Fiji tells us a one-sided story that appeals to their customers' moral conscience. You can't help but choose Fiji over other bottled waters because they frame purchasing a Fiji bottle as a way to reduce carbon emissions and save the Fijian rainforest, when in fact their product is inextricably tied to the systems of pollution that are causing carbon emissions and deforestation. Greenwashing comes in many forms, and it's not often as clear-cut as with Fiji water. So understanding how and why greenwashing works is essential to spotting it. A critical deconstruction of a cleaning product is necessary if you're buying it solely because it's green. Oftentimes, nature and trees are used to create the impression of an eco-friendly product when there's really no substance to back up those claims. So do some research and shop with intention, because the collective power of consumers can steer companies towards more truthful and ethical products.
So hope all of you enjoyed watching this video and at least got an idea with examples of greenwashing. Yes or no? So
Yes.
with this particular advertisement and with this particular article, I hope now it is very clear that why from market point of view we as consumers, see why I have kept from consumer point of view, because we all are sitting as consumers over here and we want, because since we have joined this FTP, we want to be more responsible, sustainable consumers. So before, because on Amazon and Flipkart, there are a lot of these organic products coming, but we don't know the actual reality behind this. So we should be actually aware with this, greenwashing practices. So that is why it's important from market point of view, from theory point of view, and from the culture point of view. Hope am I making it clear and I'm able to make a connect that why this topic is important from marketing point of view, theory point of view, and cultural point of view. Now let's go further. Now I'll take a historical account. Now I'll take you to the history. I have told you how marketing evolved, but how sustainability marketing evolved, that is depicted in with the help of this diagram. That is, it started from societal and social marketing in the 70s and ecological marketing in the 70s. Then this stream developed in the form of green marketing. Still, people use sustainability marketing and green marketing synonymously, right? But green marketing is basically an older concept that started in 1980s, and currently from 1995, because this particular concept started by Parvatiyar and Sheth, who were the first one who talked about sustainability marketing in 1995, and from there the sustainability marketing literature has evolved. Now let's see one by one that how this literature evolved. So when we were talking about societal or social marketing, so it's a marketing concept that holds that companies should make marketing decisions that are not only considering consumers' wants, the company requirements, but also society long-term interests. So they should not only think about customers and clients, they should also think about society at large. That is why if we focus the current definition of American Marketing Association, that is, marketing is a set of activities, institutions, processes that create, communicate, deliver, and exchange offerings that have value for customer, clients, partners, and society at large. right? So all these elements basically are being encompassed because of that. So company should not only think about customers and themselves, but they should think about the society's long-term interest also. That is all about social and societal marketing. Then came the ecological marketing, because with the advent of industrial revolution, when or the production era, what started happening was people were overproducing the things. And that a lot of oil spills, air pollution, and that all was happening, and companies was disposing a lot of wastes. So they said that now it's a time for ecological marketing, in which what happened is marketing was concerned with industries with clear environmental hazards and focused on purely environmental issues like pollution, oil spills, ecological impacts, products, and synthesis of synthetic pesticides. So thereby this ecological marketing evolved from societal and social marketing. Then this field of ecological marketing further developed, and a new era, green marketing, came into existence. And when green marketing came, that is also known as, why does green marketing came? Because there was a pressure from so-called green consumers that they need more green products, so leading to new markets and competitive advantage, right? And finally, from green marketing to sustainability marketing evolved, and which states that recent attempts at conceptualizing sustainability and sustainable marketing have included three dimensions of sustainable development, that is economic, social, and environment. However, still there is a confusion between the role, place, and objective of sustainability marketing, as well as its more implementation solution restricted to marketing mix or beyond. Now, from green marketing to sustainability marketing has evolved, but still there is a confusion that what is the role of 4Ps in this, where will this fit into this green marketing, and how does it fit into the triple bottom line of sustainability. So there is basically a discourse in the literature, there is a lot of discussion in the literature. Now, before I delve deep into sustainability marketing and the types of sustainability marketing, we all know that marketing is more about consuming more and more. And can someone tell me how does this consuming more and more started? What is basically the history of it? How does this consumption culture started? Can we have some ideas from the faculties or research scholars or from the corporates? How does this idea of consuming more and more came, and that is why we need to adopt green marketing and sustainable marketing? Where does this overconsumption idea came?
It is a Western idea, and as consumerism has come to India because of the West, and
yeah, please go ahead.
Also, yes, and it is also because of the government policies. When government is inviting more and more FDIs, etc., into the country, that is, do investment. So what will these investment? They will produce more and more commodities, and of course, through advertisement, consumerism has increased drastically. And it is a change in the social structure which has actually induced consumerism.
Okay. Anything else?
Ranjan Singh here.
Yeah, Ranjan, please tell me.
Yes, I could remember an example during my study.
Ranjan, your voice is a bit low. Can you be a bit louder? And I request all others to mute their mic. Let Ranjan express his thoughts, and then we will give chance to others.
It is audible now?
Yeah, please go ahead.
I remember one case during my study days. It is a case of Colgate toothpaste. So, to increase the sales volume, what Colgate did that, give an advertisement of childs or men, they are using that toothpaste at full length in the toothbrush. Okay. So that the idea behind this marketing that everybody should use the maximum quantity of toothpaste throughout the brush distance. So it will, what will happen? People will learn that we don't have to use peanut size. We have to use full length of that brush. So it will. What will happen? It will make more consumption, and finally it will help in making more use of toothpaste, and it will make increase in sales volume.
Okay. Okay. I will request all of you, when any one of you express your thought, please open your cameras, because so that we can connect with each other. it appears like a monologue, not a dialogue, right? So when I interact with you, so when the camera is open, it appears as a dialogue, not a monologue. So whosoever want to express that doubt, please open your camera and express yourselves. Yes, Ranjan, we are done with it. And anyone else who want to tell or express from where this idea of consumption culture started?
Yes, sir. I would like to tell.
Yeah.
Consumption is actually using the natural resources so exceedingly. So that nothing is left behind for our future. So that is my view.
Okay. You are Sipalika Sagar, right?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Sipalika and Ranjan, for sharing your insights. I'll tell you, there is one very interesting video. When I started,
would like to add one thing in this.
Yes, please add.
As like ma'am sir said, sir, the first thing ma'am said right was that we have a limited resources and we are increasing day by day in numbers. So we have to sustain our resources. And second thing, sir, we are the we are belongs to the generation Y, and generation Y is the best generation who learn very fast and implement the things very fastly. This is the reason we are thinking about the sustainability and about the environment.
My question is something different. My question is, from where this consumption culture started? Consumption. I'm not talking about sustainable consumption. I am asking about, see, when this consumption culture started, that is why the need of sustainable consumption was felt. Okay. When consumption culture started, then the need of sustainable consumption was felt. My question is, from where this consumption culture started? We should know the root cause. शुरू कहाँ से हुआ ये?
As per me, started in 1996 by W. Mayer. First time it was started.
With whom?
W. Mayer.
W. Mayer. Can you share more?
Sir, I forget his lines, but he edited a book, a chapter, and where he mentioned about the sustainability and about the greening environment, and he said, okay.
Sir,
I think my audience and faculties, I think you are getting confused with the questions.
Sir, I'm saying that.
I would like to give an answer to your question.
Yeah, please, ma'am.
If you remember, I'm Tanupriya from IITR. Hi, ma'am.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead. I remember you.
Yes. I think the culture started right from the ages of Ram Rajya. Ram Rajya was the perfect example of how balance should be maintained and sustainability in the environment. And at the same time, we got the example of Ravan also, where the culture of accumulating everything and consuming more than what is required was also portrayed by him. And the consequences of it were also depicted in the same saga. So the culture of consuming more and the culture of maintaining sustainability, both were shown in the same series.
Okay, so thank you very much all the faculties for sharing your thoughts. Now I would like to share from the modern times. Thank you, Kanupriya ma'am, for sharing the ancient times from our scriptures. Now I would like to share that there is one video, story of stuff in YouTube. If you get time, you watch it. It's a 21 minutes video. I thought I would like to include that video in this session, but it will be too long. So it's not possible for me to include a 21 minutes video, but I'll share you what was there in that video in a gist, and that will give you an idea from where this overconsumption and consumption culture started, and because of which sustainable consumption started. Way back after the World War in America, and so there was a problem, economy was going down and down. So the president calls of the economist, his name was Victor Levo, right? So Victor Levo was called, and he was asked to provide a solution to going down economies, because what happened during the times of wars or even the pandemic, if you see the corona also, I remember when corona came, people started saving, right? not only in the terms of the cereals or the goods they want to consume, but also in terms of money, because people became skeptical that what will happen next, they don't know. They started saving money. So what happened during the times of war also, people become saving centered, because they know that what can happen in emergency. So the problem with America at that time was that people were not spending, and the economy was going down, because it is the consumer. That is why consumer is known as the king of the market. When consumer votes by buying the things, the economy boosts up, right? So that's it. Then they said, Victor Levo suggested that you please create an economy of consumeristic economy, whereby consuming the things becomes a festival, right? So that people consume and consume more. Many times you might have thought that when some people get frustrated, they go out and shop somewhere and they feel relaxed, right? So what happens? And they took this Flipkart and Amazon, that big billion day sale, Diwali sale is all the classic example of excessive consumption culture. Buy two get one free, buy three get one free, buy one get one free. This is all to overconsume the things, right? And because of this malpractices, there was a need for sustainable consumption, and from where the green consumers and the various government, they all started initiatives of sustainable consumption. And you know why this overconsumption occurs? Because government wants money and these corporates wants money. And when these corporates starts growing big and big, all the constitution of India says that government by the people, for the people and of the people, but actually is government for the corporates, right? Whatever the policies are actually, you know, suitable for these corporates, you know, are actually implemented. So from where the need of developing sustainable consumption habits, sustainability marketing, that all evolved from there. Now let's go further. What are the different concepts are there in sustainability marketing? Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in the literature, there are three types of sustainability marketing. So they can be many, but after searching through a lot of literature and coming across through good marketing papers, I found out these three. That is, sustainability marketing is of three types: auxiliary sustainability marketing, reformative sustainability marketing, and transformative sustainability marketing. So one by one, we will see all these: what is auxiliary sustainability marketing, what is reformative sustainability marketing, and what is transformative sustainability marketing. So auxiliary sustainability marketing is what? This perspective of auxiliary sustainability marketing includes what? It develops integrating the 4 Ps and the others. So what happens? Integrated sustainability marketing throughout the whole marketing mix, focusing on environmental, social, and economic dimension of production and consumption. So all the 4 Ps, whether it is product sustainability, whether it is pricing sustainability, whether it is place sustainability, or whether it is promotion sustainability. So in all the 4 Ps, sustainability element should come, and it should focus on all the dimensions, that is environmental, social, and economic dimension. So such kind of marketing, when marketing imbibes sustainability into the 4 Ps, that is basically known as auxiliary sustainability marketing. So what is the motto of this? So the motto of this perspective is, might be doing what we do better, right? So in the case of incorporation of ecological and social impacts of production, and to some extent consumption. So you have to include sustainability in the 4 Ps. That basically is the essence of auxiliary sustainability marketing. Further, please mute yourselves. Please mute yourselves. I have to repeat that again and again. This disturbs a lot. Right. Further, auxiliary sustainability marketing focuses on product sustainability, price sustainability, place sustainability, and promotion sustainability. And auxiliary sustainability marketing perspectives, and both the socio-economic product life cycle or the ecological product life cycle, and it can be taken into account. Now, again, my question to the class is that how can the marketing or the company imbibe sustainability into product, price, place, and promotion? I'll take the first question: how it will be imbibed in product. Yes, any one of you can share? Any one of you can share how it will be imbibed into the product? Any idea?
It need not be in terms of the product features, can be in the form of the supply chain practices also, sir.
Okay, that will include, you will source raw materials, you will source,
Yes,
process
in a
that raw
sustainable way.
materials.
In
So
a
product
sustainable
concept, yes. Anyone would like to, throw some light that how this auxiliary sustainability marketing will imbibe in product price, place and promotion? We will start with product first. How it will be imbibed in product?
Mayank sir, I think as far as the product sustainability is concerned.
Hello Munish sir, how are you?
I'm fine, sir. I'm fine.
Okay, yeah, tell me.
As far as the product sustainability is concerned, if all the companies in a one particular segment, if they are making the product and the product should be the good quality oriented.
Yeah.
If the consumer is getting all the product in one particular segment in a good quality form, okay, there should not be any kind of whatever they expect the consumer is expecting. If they are getting that quality oriented product, I can say that the product sustainability has been obtained.
So Dr. Tiwari, I would like to say that quality is fine. If you remember the transition from the trade era to the relationship marketing and digital era, we talked about one product concept, which was focusing on quality, right? But quality essentially doesn't guarantee sustainability, right? Because you can deliver a very good quality product. It has a good durability, but does not mean it is sustainable. So sustainability in terms of product is what?
Well, here I would like to add that if we make product which is more usable, we can say,
okay, recyclable,
usable, good, recyclable or reusable, so that that the waste which is coming out of that product after the use, after we have disposed it, how we can the component of it, how we can use those components in maybe in other products,
okay,
in manufacturing of the other products.
So we can say that waste of one can be the input of the other.
So can I add some information?
That is basically a base of circular economy. I think someone else want to add.
Yeah, can I add something? So while you're designing the product itself, you're designing in such a way where there's minimal waste, and also the terms which the other person mentioned, refurbish, remanufacture, and using not going for virgin raw materials and using recycled materials itself for the input.
Okay. Now, my dear faculty members,
I would like to add.
Yes.
I would like to add one point here.
Yeah, please.
As far as the if there is a cutthroat competition in a one particular product segment, then it will be very difficult for a company to bring out a product which is reusable always. But if the product falls in some other form of the competition, like if there is a monopolistic competition is there, or a duopoly is there, then in that particular category, from a company side, it may be possible that they can bring out a product which can be reusable. But as long as, like in fast moving consumer segment, there is a cutthroat competition for all the products. Okay, so it is very, very difficult for a company to think about that case. They should make a product only that one which can be reused every time. This I wanted to add on to the whatever the Sandeep sir has said.
I'll take the last one. Madam wanted to add something, and then I'll start. Yeah, please.
Yes, sir. Along with that, usage of resources. When you're talking about product sustainability, not only sustainability of that particular product, but how is the usage of that particular product towards other resources of the earth. Like we have seen with respect to example of washing powders. So recently, where they say like particular powder it is going to use less amount of water resources. At the same time, we also have seen with respect to this water purifiers. I think they are using largest amount of water resources to get a bottle of purified water. So some companies also say like our water purifier, it doesn't waste.
Okay.
The resources.
So a lot of good insights have come from the faculty members. So I was talking about auxiliary sustainability marketing. Video. Yes. So I was talking about auxiliary sustainability marketing, where I talk about that we have to include in the 4 Ps, that is marketing mix, product, price, place, and promotion, the sustainability element. Now, a lot of good insights have come from you people regarding the recycling, regarding the other benefits you have shared. But the thing, have you thought, it's not just about the resources which are put. Do you think? I think in the last lecture, one faculty member was talking about human resource. Sir, there is no human resource, element into this. I am in human resource sustainability. Are you there, ma'am? Okay. Anyways, so I will include that. See, when a product is produced, humans are also involved. I think we have missed that component. So when sustainable product not only means you will reuse it, recycle it, what is the working conditions of the people over there? Are they working in harsh condition? Sustainability for human resources also have to be taken care by the company. Good HR practices, good human resource practices, reducing the CO2 emissions, and I mean much more. Child labor. Companies saying we are very sustainable, and then they are using child labor. Will it be an actual sustainable company in true sense? I don't think so. So sustainability should include everything: people, planet, and the your what we say profit. So product. Then in pricing sustainability, if we talk about pricing sustainability, again, since price is related to the cost, and it has got both kind of cost. It has monetary cost as well as a social cost, right? Similarly, when we talk about the place, distributing the things, like when you distribute, why we say that, you should have a global culture, but you should act locally. Try to do local production. If you do local production, what will happen? Transportation cost will decrease. And when transportation cost will decrease, ultimately carbon footprints will get down, right? So some kind of efforts has to be used. I am not saying that how will it get done? The companies are doing it, right? They are trying to reduce transportation cost. That is why they are making warehouses at various places so that minimal transportation is required, and it can be met at different places. Centralized transportation has been scrapped. Now they are adopting decentralized transportation system. Similarly, when we talk about promotions, you should always promote in the way that is sustainable. I told you about digital marketing promotions, right? Which contains less of paperless economies is there. Also, when we promote a particular product, we talk about certification, that is USDA certification and other certification. So communication and promotion to the customers in true sense has also to be there. So if I summarize, the gist of auxiliary sustainability marketing is that in all the 4 Ps, sustainability should get reflected. That is what is the essence of auxiliary sustainability marketing. Now we will move to the next aspect, that is the reflective one, reformative sustainability marketing. So when we talk about reformative sustainability marketing, it extends the aspiration of auxiliary sustainability marketing. What happens? It acknowledges the current consumption levels are unsustainable, that is usually reflecting on either inequity between the developed and developing nation on Earth's limited resources. So they tell about that what is the current level of consumption is basically unsustainable. Various countries keep on blaming others that so and so country is producing more carbon footprints, we are more sustainable. So this blame is not going to happen. Not just focusing on 4 Ps is going to help the sustainability marketing in the true sense. It has to control consumption, and I hope all of you who are actually reading in this area of sustainability, they know that whatever strategies are suggested by companies, do green organic products and green products and all that, but ultimately all the literature and all the authorities in the sustainability literature has said that green products is not going to help just by consuming differently, but it is consuming responsibly. That is, you have to reduce the consumption. That is basically the key essence of sustainability. Then for this reason, reformative sustainability marketing is seen as being responsible for promoting sustainable lifestyles. It is to say that not only companies, that includes even its employees and everyone, but also consumers should adopt sustainable lifestyle. And let me tell you, in January this year, And I love watching Kumar Vishwas, and I see a lot of his videos. I think you might have also seen his video. When just Corona was a bit low, and in January he released his video. He did, with a lot of politicians. He did one Kavya Sammelan. In that, he told one very beautiful thing. He said that Corona has taught us very good lessons. It has actually taught us that how can we live with limited resources. And he said that प्राप्त और प्राप्ति में क्या अंतर है? What we have and what we want to have, what is the difference between that, right? And that's what reformative sustainability marketing talks about. That is, you have to change the lifestyle, and the individual have to change the lifestyle, because marketing will always, we as marketing faculties or we as marketing professionals knows that marketing will always focus on more consumption. But reformative sustainability marketing talks about what? Something different. It talks about that you have consumer themselves will obtain a sustainable lifestyle. I heard in some of the previous lecture that yes, the price of these organic products are kept very high. So this will reduce down the consumption, but this is not the solution. See, lifestyle or the living standard of the people may rise because India will grow. It is one of the fastest developing nations. So India will grow one day, and living standard of people will increase. They will also consume. Consumption will again increase. So increasing the price of our organic product is not the solution. That we will move towards sustainability marketing. The solution is that we have to adopt a sustainable lifestyle, and we have to demarcate certain harmful and undesirable products and services. Thus, reformative sustainability marketing changes the current modes of doing business and marketing. Also, reformative marketing is acknowledged to promote consumption. The normal marketing is acknowledged to promote consumption as it stands. We all know that. I have already shown the introductory video on it, and which is basically contradictory to the concept of sustainability. But in the same way, it limits to the growth also acknowledged. So what does reformative sustainability bar do? It not only promotes the sustainability of the firm product and services, but also sustainable lifestyle. So now you understand the difference between auxiliary and reformative. Auxiliary was just talking about the product, and that is why why green marketing concept got very outdated, and sustainability marketing came into existence, because the main reason behind green marketing was it was product centric. It was more product centric, not the not the consumer centric in the sense of having more sustainable lifestyles. That is why sustainability marketing came into existence. So they not only promote products in reformative sustainability marketing, they promote sustainable lifestyles. So but people, what they believe, why should we adopt sustainable lifestyle? Government should impose laws, and especially in India, what happens? Till then government make laws, we don't follow. Take the example of helmet. Till the traffic police doesn't check, people will not wear helmet. Until then they get challan, right? So people think that it's the responsibility of the government to educate and promote sustainable behaviors, right? And government should enforce regulation, but it's not the same case. People also have to adopt the sustainable lifestyles. And it assumes that problem of unsustainable consumption lies in a lack of information and knowledge by the consumer. Obviously, some people actually don't know what they are consuming is unsustainable. So yes, education to the proper consumer. We as educated people, and we are attending this FDP, we are knowledgeable. But yes, our main responsibility is to communicate to our students, to the other stakeholders. That is also very important. So in this regard, identity, peer pressure, social norms are seen as playing a role in consumption, in both symbolic consumption, especially in younger consumption. So what happens? Why people consume unsustainability? I showed you that Royal Enfield ad in the beginning. Jab bullet chale to duniya rasta de. Why do people buy these kind of unsustainable products which consumes petrol a lot? Just because of hedonic buying. People buying because there are certain emotional benefits attached to it. Identity is attached to it. So that culture, that unsustainable culture, we have to change, and we have to adopt more of sustainable lifestyle. This reformative marketing sustainability can take place. And last kind of sustainability marketing is transformative sustainability marketing. Now, what is transformative sustainability marketing? it aims to change the institutions that inhibit transition of sustainable society. There are certain institutions that basically forms as a barrier to sustainability. So what does transformative sustainability aims? It aims that they have to inhibit such kind of society and institution which becomes a barrier in the way of sustainability. And what happens? This forms of marketing understand the barriers of consumption faced with sustainable consumption, such as our persuasive, consumption, ideologies, institutional barriers. So transformative sustainability marketing is basically, please mute your mics, everyone. Unsustainable behavior, yes. Anyways, jokes apart. So TSM views responsibility as lying with both firms and consumers. Indeed, sustainability marketing cannot rely on sustainable production. It has to rely on positive collective citizen action. Sustainable production, sustainable lifestyle, and sustainable consumption. When all these three will come together, then only transformative sustainability marketing will exist, else not. So Bells 2005 and Gordon et al. 2011, they also argue that sustainability marketing is ineffective without institutional change. That means you might have seen, there is a vision and mission of the company. So company makes vision and mission. Many times you might have find on the website of State Bank of India that customer centric, all these. But what happened? Do the employees right from the top to the bottom internalizing that vision? Sometimes, they do not even care about the customers. So why this happened? Because the vision has not been internalized from top to bottom or bottom to top, right? Similarly, sustainability will only work when there is sustainable production, when there is sustainable consumption, and when there is sustainable lifestyle. When all the three will combine, then only transformative sustainability marketing will work. Now, what are the business actions towards sustainable marketing? I think I will take some 5-10 minutes extra if you don't have any problem. Yes. Yes, faculty members, if can I take 5-10 minutes extra?
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay, sir. Thank you very much. So what actually company have to do, when they talk about business action towards sustainable marketing? So these are the 4 things. First is it has to be consumer oriented marketing. Second is customer value marketing, innovative marketing, and sense of mission marketing, right? So when we talk about consumer marketing, see, this actually company is doing from the beginning. So I will not focus much upon it because all the marketing revolves around these 3 at least are still in practices, right? Customer oriented, customer value, and innovative. Customer orientation, we know, as we say that this is an era of consumer sovereignty, where consumer is the king of the market. If you are not consumer oriented, actually you will be wiped off from the market. That is why you see in a lot of organizations have come with a lot of personalization and customization of the products. That is all what? That is all the result of consumer oriented marketing. Also, if we see the customer value marketing, so marketing all kind of resources and all kind of products or all kind of what we say offerings that has been given to the consumer, that has to be have a full objective of giving superior customer value. So that is what is there. Second is innovative marketing. As we say, this is basically concept of strategic management. Also there is a framework given by Broom that is known as VRIO framework. Any product will sustain in the market if it is valuable, rare, inimitable, and organized. So innovative in the sense means I'm just not talking about radical innovation. It can be incremental innovation in the product also, right? So some kind of incremental improvements or totally new, radical new products, sustainable products. Like, recently, Carlsberg came with the paper beer bottle, right? To portray themselves as a sustainable company, but I think that is not the correct step, because again, if you make a bottle of the paper, again more trees will be cut for that. So more sustainable solution have to be. This is very important. Sense of mission marketing. Now, company should define its mission in broad social terms rather than narrow product terms. That means, I'll go back again. Previously, since the marketing is consumption oriented, it is product centric. So that orientation has to go now. Since it, from customer orientation, value orientation, innovation orientation, but the company should have a mission of the sustainability. It has to be imbibed in right from top to bottom of the company, that sustainable production, sustainable consumption, and whatever ways when companies, whether distributing a product, whether promoting a product, whether making a product. So in all forms, in all the 4 P's, there is a sense of mission of sustainability should be there. And that is what the business action towards sustainability marketing companies can take it. So now how the sustainability marketing looks about. So if you see auxiliary sustainable marketing, what does it do? It supports the production of sustainable products. Then transformative, what does it do? Reformative extends the scope and auxiliary in promoting sustainable lifestyles and behavioral change. And transformative focuses on strengthening both by advocating changes in existing norms, critical reflecting, and modern anthropocentric attitudes towards the nature. So hope you are able to connect that auxiliary is connected to reformative, and reformative is connected to transformative. And that's how the entire ecosystem of marketing sustainability work. Now, lot of theory, lot of lecture has been done. Hope you are also must not be interesting. And in digital marketing, there is one theory that says that picture superiority effect. So now it's the time to share certain examples, and let's make this class more interactive. I'll share some examples with you. It's curbing the challenge of single-use plastics in India. And I think this concept was studied yesterday also, but I will talk about Mahindra. There was a campaign run by Mahindra that was known as Cut the Crap Environment Campaign, and that was launched on September 23rd, 2019. So Mahindra Group has launched a new environmental campaign, Cut the Crap, that built the case of waste management. They are actually managing the waste, and they're trying to come up with certain innovative products with that waste. And then what does Chief Marketing Officer of Mahindra Group, Mr. Vivek Nair said, we are putting our Rise for Good philosophy into action, and to bring about a greater environmental awareness and societal change. Our aim is not only to sensitize people, but also to enable them towards behavior change. So a part of Rise for Good communication series, Cut the Crap and Aims to Alert. So this the link is given. You can go through this campaign. I will share a video of this campaign. Personally, I like this video very much. I've seen it many times, and I hope it's a very emotional video. You all will like it. Just wait. Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Audio coming? It is audible also?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what's that? Beautiful ad. And the title is Sustainable Joy, the Yellow Green Bag.
आपको पता है हमारे देश में 11 करोड़ से भी ज्यादा बच्चे गरीबी में रहते हैं। उनके लिए स्कूल की चीजें खरीदना बहुत मुश्किल है। ऊपर से उनके स्कूलों में डेस्क्स भी नहीं होते, जिसकी वजह से सारे बच्चे झुककर बैठते हैं और उनका पोस्चर खराब हो जाता है। बच्चों की ये दिक्कत देखकर महिंद्रा सस्टेन ने एनोबल सोशल इनोवेशंस के साथ हाथ मिलाया। महिंद्रा सस्टेन ने कई जगहों से वेस्ट इकट्ठा करना शुरू किया और उसे एनोबल के मैन्युफैक्चरिंग यूनिट पे भेज दिया रिसाइकिल करने के लिए। पेश है येलो ग्रीन बैग, एक स्कूल बैग जो सिर्फ रिसाइकिल्ड मटेरियल से बना है। ये बैग के अंदर एक डेस्क है, जिसकी वजह से अब बच्चे बिना अपना पोस्चर खराब करे पढ़ सकते हैं। सिर्फ ये ही नहीं, इस बैग में एक पानी की बोतल, एक वेस्ट जमा करने का पाउच, सैनिटेशन किट और कपड़े का एक बैग भी है। महिंद्रा सस्टेन ने अब तक 250 किलो से भी ज्यादा वेस्ट इकट्ठा करके 1756 बैग बनाए हैं जो बच्चों में बांटे गए हैं। और पता है, ये तो बस शुरुआत है। और जानकारी के लिए और महिंद्रा के मिशन कट द क्रैप के साथ जुड़ने आप mahindrasustain.com/cut the crap विजिट कर सकते हैं।
So how were the videos, dear participants?
It was amazing.
I will show you another video of Mahindra only. Personally, I have kept Indian companies because I personally believe when we talk about sustainability, let's start from ourselves, let's start from our country, and let's talk about our country first. So that is why I have taken the examples of Indian company, and I will show you another ad of Mahindra, this TVC or not TVC campaign video of Mahindra Rise only. So this was all about Mahindra Rise campaign, and the idea from where, why Mahindra started this campaign, Mahindra Rise. This you will get idea from this video that why Mahindra started this Rise campaign. Just see this.
The long-range semi-automatic sniper rifle. It is one of the deadliest weapons in combat technology. The Chimera virus. It is one of the deadliest bioweapons in the world. The 20-megaton intercontinental ballistic missile. It is considered one of the deadliest nuclear weapons on the planet. The low-density polyethylene container, also known as the plastic bag. It clogs our landfills and chokes our oceans. The deadliest part about it is that we just don't care. But Mahindra cares, which is why we focus on waste management and have recycled, reused and composted over 140,000 tons of waste in the year 2018 alone. If you care as well, log on to mahindra.com/rise.
So I hope you enjoyed all the videos, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So I think you might have got idea how basically companies are marketing their sustainability initiatives and what actual initiatives, although there were plethora of examples from the the foreign context also, but I thought that Indian context will be the most apt to share with you. So this is Mahindra Rise is one. Then Coca-Cola is another campaign, that is Round in Circles, in which Coca-Cola talks about that sending plastic round in circle, because they have taken this circle from the circular economy. So single-use plastic bottles are only single-use if they are thrown away. So the plastic in our bottles can be recycled many times, and Smart Water will be our first brand to come in bottles made from 100% recycled plastic. So this is the initiative of Coca-Cola. Now, I have taken several other examples whereby I'm telling you that companies around the world are trying to market their sustainability initiatives. So that is why they are doing it. And you see, Swiss giant Nestle, you see what they have done. Nestle aiming at 100% recyclable or reusable packaging by 2025. Then you see, next is Unilever. See, Unilever is also saying that Unilever commits to 100% recyclable plastic packaging by 2025. Then let's come to Volvo. Volvo is also pledging the same, that by 2025, Volvo sets goal of 25% recycled plastics in cars from 2025. Then we see that in Coca-Cola, I have already told you about that. Then McDonald's, although there was a case with McDonald's for greenwashing, but yes, what they are saying, what they are claiming, it says that they boast that McDonald's aim for fully recycled packaging by 2025. So this is by McDonald's. And then Dell, you see, Dell also has done. Dell is saying that Dell Technology launches 2020 packaging goals. So it is telling that by 2020 they will be using 100% recyclable packaging, which will be used. See, they are saying currently a little more, half of our packaging meets our 2020 criteria. So we know it will be a challenge, but our privilege will be sustainable packaging efforts. So you see, companies around the world, they are actually focusing on this. And last, I want to share this IKEA. IKEA, the furniture giant, basically, they have said IKEA commits, commits to phase out single-use plastics by 2020. So that's all. I try to sum up my session over here on sustainability marketing. So I have not put the last slide as questions, because I hope that all our faculty members of here, that's why I have intentionally kept this phrase, let's co-create ideas and discuss. And my idea behind this discussion is that what could be the more sustainability marketing initiatives, both from company point of view and consumer point of view, that we should discuss. But again, as I have borrowed your 10 minutes, so lastly, one very important thing I want to share, that we all are talking about sustainability like anything. People are producing lots and lots of papers on green marketing, sustainability and all that. But people are actually not taking into the consideration the true context of the nation. I have one very innovative video, that I have got and have come through YouTube, and I found it very interesting that people are just copying, pasting what is borrowed from the foreign, but they are not worried about what is there, the context of the country. So just see this. No, not this one. Wait. Yeah, this is the last one I'm showing. So why Western sustainability doesn't work for India? Just see this. 2 minutes at 2 minutes.
What drives actual action on sustainability in our cities, and what should drive that action? So we did this study of the top 1,000 papers published in the last 10 years on sustainability issues in all journals. And most of them were from the global north or on global north issues, but cited by northern and southern researchers together. And there were 10 papers in this top 1000 list which are on India. And so we are using papers that are highly cited to work on Indian cities which are not from the Indian context. Why is this a problem? So let's take the smart city paradigms. We did this study of different smart cities across Karnataka. And if you look at the plans that were cited for these cities, for Mangalore, for instance, the plan was focused on coastal redevelopment for tourism. No mention of the fact that the coast is also used by people like street vendors or people that fish there. You know, they need to be incorporated in these livelihoods. So you're dealing with the ecology of the environment by capitalizing on it, but removing the poor that are so associated, their income is so associated with this. So this kind of a smart city development only comes in because people don't understand the culture or the ecology of that city. Other little examples. So China has been working on the sponge city concept, which is a traditional concept that many cities across the world used to have, which is the idea that your wetlands are the sponges of the city, that they absorb the rain. So they have taken an old Chinese concept and are using these to replan their cities. There's so many very important Indian traditional concepts that we have. For instance, sacredness and the idea of sacred culture and association with certain trees. What did we plant on the sides of the road? We planted people, banyan, tamarind, mango. So trees that were used, which had sacred purposes, they were worshipped in various ways, but they also provide fruit. They were keystone species, they gave shade. What do we plant now? We plant ornamental trees, copperpot, the gulmohar. They're a very British aesthetic, which is all about the visual, which is how the colonial planters that came and brought these. They look gorgeous, but in terms of the biodiversity value or the people's value, you know, a ficus tree any day or a mango or a tamarind or a jackfruit, these are our traditional trees that we should be planting on the sidewalks. So there are many culturally important aspects of India that we need to come back to.
So with this, I end my session, and I would now like to throw an open discussion to the all audience that, I mean, what could be the various ideas, innovative ideas that we as faculties can plan and co-create to bring more of sustainable marketing. And with sustainable marketing, I'm talking about the whole auxiliary, reformative and transformative sustainability marketing. Can some faculties come up with some innovative ideas? What can be done? What can we suggest to the companies?
I think we should promote the culture of our grandparents. You know, where we used to have a repair culture. Like today, if my phone is not working, I throw it away and, you know, I buy a new one. So, then the culture where the clothes of the elder son were worn by the, you know, younger one.
Obviously true. Madam, I totally agree with you. If you see, I have this phone Vivo. I'm using it from the past 4 years. 2 times its screen has broken down. I never bought a new one. I just changed its screen, and many times it start hanging. Then I restore the settings to the default, because what happens, these apps keep on telling you to update the phone. Ultimately, what happens, it keeps on taking more space, and finally what these companies try to do is overconsume. Ki abhi aapka phone kharab ho gaya, there is no space, it start hanging, you buy a new phone. So somewhere I'm not fully sustainable, but yes, wherever I try to do, I have planned that I'm not going to change my phone at least for 5-6 years. Before that, because now what is the trend? These mobile phones marketing advertisements are bombarded like anything on Amazon and Flipkart, right? Even customer gets confused which mobile phone to buy. So yes, this can be one idea. Can we have some other ideas?
So even the individuals who are.
Yes, ma'am, please go ahead.
Yeah, individuals who are following sustainability in their lives, they need to be appreciated, and there should be a, I would say, appreciation in front of everybody in large groups, so that everybody. Now what happens if somebody in the group does not follow the today's modern lifestyle, then they are being criticized. Okay, so as academicians, we should make certain groups and appreciate people for, and they can also post what actually they are doing, like on Facebook, etc. We post all consumerism things. कि आज हम यहाँ गए, यहाँ we post all these pictures. We are dining in a restaurant or we are having a lunch, but we should have certain things which if somebody is following a sustainable lifestyle, that should be appreciated, that should be applauded, and actually it should be exemplified in front of everybody. And if it is done, then everybody, then there will be a bandwagon effect. Everybody will follow. Now, if we say something and if we do the other thing, it will not. Sustainability can never come. We can talk and
So
talk,
can
but sustainability can never
I
come.
make a comment, sir?
Yeah, please, go ahead.
So basically encouraging students to take up a social enterprise idea which involves scrap and recycling. That'll be a major.
You have stole my thought, ma'am. I was also trying to say, because since majority are faculty in this group, and it's our moral responsibility as teachers to communicate this to our students, because what happened is that now present generation, as rightly said by one of the member or participants in this sustainability group, they said that now generation Y is very information adaptive, they are very technology centered, so they are very sharp. But one more thing is that again they are they are moving more towards consumeristic society, consume more and more, right? So some way or the other way, as teacher, it is our moral responsibility to train them on sustainable and to consume less, because I tell you, I told Professor Singh also when he introduced me in the session that I am not the expert of sustainability, but yes, some way or the other way, every individual practices sustainability from the childhood, and we have to tell certain things to our students so that they can become responsible consumers, and they can do sustainable consumption, consume less. And whenever I take marketing class, let me tell you, I always tell Manika, please be aware from this buy one get one free, buy two get three free. So consume less, whatever is required. That is the essence. I have gone through a lot of sustainability literature. Each and every researcher is talking about consume less, consume responsibility. If not less, then consume responsibility. That is basically the essence. Can we have one or two more and then we can wind up this session?
Well, here I would like to say, यहाँ पर अभी जो कहता है मतलब ज़्यादातर यूज एंड थ्रो कल्चर क्यों आ रहा है? बिकॉज द रिपेयर कॉस्ट हैज इंक्रीज्ड. नाउ इफ यू बाय अ प्रोडक्ट, so we also have to work on the costing of the repair, so that repair culture can come back. Like in the old time, in my father's time, if there is one pan or a regulator or any machine is broken down, they take it to the shop, they get it repaired for whatever the cost by that time, and they use it. But now today, अगर मेरे घर का पंखा खराब हो गया, मैं उसको रिपेयर कराने गया हूँ, तो उसकी रिपेयर का कॉस्ट जितना आ रहा है उतने में या उससे
वही है ना. मोबाइल रिपेयरिंग आप कराएंगे तो बोलेगा सर इतने में तो नया ले लो आप.
तो we have to brought down that repair cost.
So we have to attach with our thing emotionally.
Yes,
because
that
we
is
are
very
not
important.
attached to the emotionally, so we are just throw easily. जैसे सर 3 रुपए की यूज एंड थ्रो पेन ले लो या फिर 3 रुपए की रिफिल यूज कर लो. इससे अच्छा है कि हम पेन नहीं खरीद ले. तो सर हम अपने पेन से भी इमोशनली अटैच नहीं है. सबसे बड़ी चीज ये है. अगर हम इमोशनली अटैच रहेंगे अपनी चीजों से, तो सर हम उसे बहुत प्यार करेंगे और शायद उतनी जल्दी से खराब नहीं होने देंगे.
देखिए, the more you take risk, more gain is also there. The thing is that as very rightly mentioned, that आजकल जो है ये रिपेयरिंग का कल्चर खत्म होता जा रहा है. And let me tell you why is it so. As I told you, that it started from during after World War, Victor Levy suggested that you should make consumeristic society. तो देखिए उस सोसाइटी में हुआ क्या? What happened in the society was, कंप्यूटर का चिप्स का आपको पता होगा, ये Intel Pentium 1, Pentium 2, Pentium 3, Pentium 4, Pentium 5. अब you see, what is the problem in these chips? The problem in these chips is that when P1 came, its shape is different. When P2 came, again they changed their shape. P3, so in every generation they are changing the shape. Why they are doing it so? Because a user of P3 cannot upgrade to P4 and user of P4 cannot upgrade to P5, because the company wants them to consume more. And why they are giving so much of variety? Because consumers consume more and they feel outdated. अभी आप देखिए ना, last year only, Professor Singh and me, purchased one laptop. That was the latest edition, 10th generation i5. And just 1 year has passed, 11th generation has come. Now, what do you feel? That you have to spend another 60,000-70,000 on a laptop and 11th generation has come, you can't have upgraded to 11th generation, right? So such kind of things, yes, culture, very rightly said by Mr. Sandeep Goyal, that this kind of culture has to be, we should think about such kind of culture. We'll take the last one and then we'll wind up the session. Anyone else want to comment? Yes, Dr. Munish, please.
This I would like to say that as far as the change of the consumer mindset is concerned, we have to be like simple living and high thinking. If somebody, any person is living in a simple manner, like I am also using my mobile phone Vivo that from last 7 to 8 years, but I'm not able to change the mindset of my wife or my daughter.
And behind you the
because they are purchasing their mobile every year now and then. So the last mobile, it gets wasted. So we have to, as far as the we consumers are concerned, we have to live our life. If we are having this kind of mentality that we have to live like a simple living and high thinking, then we can at least we will not be bound to be purchase any new product or so, as long as it is not much needed from our side, from consumer
Thank you,
side.
sir.
Now, and one more thing I wanted to add upon that is that there are three things that comes into picture. That is, number one is the producer, that is the company, the government of any government who is giving permission to bring a new product also, and third thing is the consumer. So consumer, if we are able to control ourselves, then it's okay. As far as the company side is concerned, who is the producer, from all the arenas, that is product, place, price, promotion, which we all are teaching, all the product, all the P's are concerned, if they are ethical, if they can bring whenever the product is required for the consumer, then and then only they should bring the product. Not necessarily that every time they should bring out P1 chala gaya, then they should bring a P2, then P3, then P4 or P5, like that, or in any other product segment. So product, whenever the product is required, whatever the promotion is required, ethical in all segments. If they are ethical, then I think the society
Thank
can
you, sir.
change.
So,
Even
thank you,
the
sir. We are
government.
actually running short of time.
Yes, yes, okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for bringing your valuable insights into it. Dear participants, I think I tried my level best to deliver you the marketing angle of the sustainability, and I hope that you enjoyed this session. And if there is anything, which you want from my side to answer, you can put it in the text box and I will answer. Hope you enjoyed the session. So shall we end this, Professor Singh?
Yes. Thank you, sir. It has already been, we are running late by 20 minutes. So it has been a wonderful session. Thanks a lot for providing a deep...
faculty to faculties and other, it takes time. We all need to, deliver and more.
So
Sir,
thanks a lot,
I just want to tell
participants.
one small thing, sir.
Yeah, ma'am.
So yeah, so basically, another person just now mentioned that faculty mentioned that you should keep using old stuff, which makes sense. But right now we are in a scenario where even updation of apps requires a particular software, which only the updated phones will have. For instance, I had a phone for 6 years, and then my Google Pay, which is an essential thing, it requires a phone which is only like 7 or above. So there are discrepancies which I don't know whether the app sets it or the phone sets it. So it's difficult overall, although we aim that.
That's because, ma'am, that's the reason is that, see, till then we can try, we should try. When we are compelled, we have to do something. The reason is that, the reason of telling all, sharing all these things is that, see, as rightly said by you, if they will launch, these phone companies will form a cartel and they will launch certain apps that will be upgraded onto the new version only. You will not be able to upgrade, then obviously you have to go for the new one. But yes, till then, at least we say, na, if we can't totally avoid it, then at least we can delay it. Something is better than nothing.
Okay, let's take Ranjan's question. He was raising his hand from a very long time. So before winding up, because it has already been extended.
Yes.
So Ranjan, if you are there, please ask your question.
Yes, sir. Basically, all here are academicians, and I am only the person who is in industry sector. So I am very new to this concept of sustainability, and it is very hard for me to understand what is sustainability. So I believe that common people in nowadays they are very much aware of the sustainability concept or not. We are seeing very much ads regarding consumerism and lots of things. But I hardly found any advertisement or awareness program in TV commercials or in social media. So whether it is our responsibility of all academicians and think tanks to make awareness of these people regarding sustainability concept. Because through this session I came to know that you should reuse more and reuse your products at a very longer period. Simple example is mobile. So from this session, I learned that I should, as much as use my mobile, still that is not so necessary. So this kind of awareness can we make among all people through social medias? Because the common people don't know this concept till now.
You will answer or shall I?
No. Yes, sir. Do the honors.
No, please, you go ahead. It is your session. It is totally your platform. So please go ahead.
No, yes, as Ranjan, I think you are asking as far as, because voice break 2-3 times, but as far as I am able to understand, you want to say that you are not able to see such kind of sustainable ads too much on the TV and on social media. See, the thing is that because I told you, still marketing is basically consumption oriented, right? Although this all concept which we are studying from research papers and from all the companies are doing certain initiatives, but lastly, no company is 100% sustainable company, right? And every company wants the consumer to consume more. But yes, we as faculties who are doing projects with these such kind of companies can suggest, but all of us can't do these things. But yes, the thing is that we can at least train our students, the young generation, which will command the future, to see the responsible advertising and actually see the ad responsibility. Because as far as you talked about social media, basically this is an era of citizen journalism. Citizens are journalists, isn't it? तो जो फॉर्मल जर्नलिस्ट है उनका जमाना गया, अभी कोई आज तक पे भी विश्वास नहीं करता, स्टार न्यूज पे भी कोई विश्वास नहीं करता, बिकॉज पीपल ट्रस्ट पीपल, नॉट द जर्नलिस्ट. So this is the era of citizen journalism. But again, we as a social media researchers, we always say that always trust a social media ad and with a caution, right? So what is correct, what is not correct, so that you may not get misguided. That is why when I was taking this lecture, I told you the concept of greenwashing, right? That whether the companies are truly sustainable or not. So whether these companies will show too much of these sustainable ads or not, that is actually not in our control. What is in our control, that we can train our students, we can train our children, we can actually have a dialogue with our friends to consume sustainability, because we can take responsibility of ourselves. And if we take responsibility of ourselves, I think the half the work is done. I feel personally like that. I hope Professor Singh, with your permission, we can end this session. I think Professor Singh is not audible. Let me stop the recording. Thank you very much, everyone. So